Music and Booze with Mo is produced and distributed by EatsDrinksTV, a service of the Center for Culinary Culture, home of the Cocktail Collection, and First Reel Entertainment, and is available wherever fine podcasts can be heard. The Center for Culinary Culture, telling the story of food and drink, one taste at a time. Welcome to Music and Booze with Mo. I'm Mo Herms, and I've worked in the music industry most of my life, so have met some pretty amazing musicians over the years. I also love a good cocktail, and I've encountered some really interesting bartenders as well. It seems that there's a lot of crossover, so when I can, I like to talk to musicians and bartenders about music and booze. Join us at the bar, won't you? Music and Booze with Mo is brought to you by The Mermaid, an underwater oasis with tropical cocktails and more, located in the Little Tokyo district of downtown LA. Follow The Mermaid on Instagram at TheMermaidLA for a complete listing of hours, events, and more. The Mermaid LA is proudly woman and Latin owned, and you can visit them at 428 East 2nd Street in downtown Los Angeles. Today I'm headed back to Portland to talk to Nathan Elliott. Nathan is a bartender at Scotch Lodge, a whiskey bar that has received some recent recognition from the James Beard Foundation. And Nathan himself has quite a music history, having started playing music when he was a kid in Colorado and then moving to Southern California to try to make his musical dreams come true. And he kind of did. So we're going to talk about all of that, the band he played in. We're going to listen to that band too. And the way he got into bartending, which is how most people do, supporting a habit, his being a habit of music. So let's talk to Nathan about music and booze.
Well, my name's Nathan Elliott. Currently live in Portland, Oregon right now. I bartend at Scotch Lodge here in Portland. I've been there for almost 5 years now, which is kind of wild to think about. It's gone by really quickly. I ended up there in June of 2021, and here we are now,
this
in
many years later,
2026.
surviving in Portland, in war-ravaged Portland.
Yeah, let me tell you all about
I'm
that.
in war-ravaged Los Angeles, so
I know,
we feel you.
Our cities are just decimated right now.
I know, totally. I don't know how we get through it. But you jumped on the call, and I was very excited to see you wearing an Elvis shirt. So we're talking about music right now because we already know we are Elvis fans.
Let's dive straight in. Yeah.
But I wanted to ask you, like, when you first started playing music, what got you playing it in the first place?
So for me, music has been my life since I can remember. Both of my parents are very musically inclined. My mom, not so much a musician, but just absolutely loved music, or loves music, and always has. My dad was a musician and started me playing guitar. I have a picture of me playing guitar at, like, I don't know, 3 years old.
Were you playing Elvis?
I might have been. I have no idea. Like, who knows what it was? It's probably Stairway to Heaven. But like, for me, music was always just a huge part of our household, our daily lives. There were records playing, cassettes playing. This is early mid 80s when I was a young child in Colorado at that time, and I was just introduced to so much different music by my parents. Everything from Southern classic rock type stuff to pop. My mom loved artists like Billy Joel and Elton John a lot, and Elvis, obviously. And my dad was super into things like Pink Floyd and random stuff like Taj Mahal and Leo Kottke. Nice. I mean, literally, it was just like they had this huge catalog of music, and it was at my disposal. And honestly, at that age, I had no idea what I was privy to, because there's a lot of kids, especially even these days, that would have just absolutely drooled over a record collection that I got to flip through on a daily basis as a kid, which was, it was amazing. So, and that, obviously that just leads to me watching my dad playing guitar. I want to learn how to play guitar. And, growing up in Western Colorado, there's not a lot to do. It's like you're into sports, which I was into sports some, but I wasn't really part of the in crowd. So I just kind of naturally gravitated towards playing music. And then it just became my life's passion.
Oh my God.
So
what was your first band?
My very first band, it's funny, we kind of briefly brought this up, was in middle school. I was a part of a group of kids that I was in middle school band, and there was a jazz band. And in the jazz band, one of the openings was guitar. And I was like, well, obviously I want to play guitar in that jazz band. So in that jazz band, I met some other guys that played drums and bass, and we all started talking about music that we liked. And it turned out that we all liked No Doubt a lot, and Tragic Kingdom had just come out. And so we decided to form a middle school cover band, No Doubt cover band. And our parents were cool enough that they would take us to each other's houses and let us practice all of this No Doubt.
Because you're like 12.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, like 12, 13 years old, right?
That's awesome.
My very first guitar was this black Ibanez guitar that I had. It was, very inexpensive and a little PV amp, and I would lug that around. And the guys that I was in the band with and the girl that sang, and then we had a little horn section as well. We played in our talent show in the middle school, and I think I want to say we did Sunday Morning, but I can't quite remember. It might have been Spiderwebs. Anyway, we knew the whole Tragic Kingdom album, and we just played that. We never really learned anything else from anyone else, but that's what we learned. So anyway, that was the very first band I was
Well, you probably had that band for what, like a year, maybe?
Yeah, maybe. And then, you kind of move on.
Then you move on, yeah, because that is such a transitionary time in your life anyway.
Absolutely, yeah.
So by the time you got to high school, were you still doing the pop punk ska stuff?
It was mostly, so I actually I was still playing, but that band kind of fizzled out. I ended up in high school. There was this very well-known, so Western Colorado is very rural. There's not a whole lot going on. I grew up in a town called Grand Junction. The high school that I went to coincidentally there was a couple different bands that were playing in the high school, but one of them was this, I guess you could call it new metal. I don't know. It was it was a metal band, and
that was a thing in the 90s too.
I know, and this is actually
it's kind of coming back, I heard.
Yeah, for better or for worse. But I was in this band at that time with some of my friends. I got invited to be in that band and ended up playing in that band for a little while, and that was kind of when I really got a taste of being able to like play shows where there was actually like a fair amount of people coming out to the shows, because they had established themselves, and I was invited in as an additional rhythm guitarist for that band. And I just really kind of, I guess at that point it solidified what I really wanted to do as far as pursuing music. It wasn't with that kind of music, but it just gave me that feeling that I was looking for as far as playing music live and recording and all of those things. So that was kind of the next step up from my No Doubt cover band experience. And I had my high school job was at the local, at the mall, at a record store in the mall.
So, you must have been so cool, even though you were saying like, "Oh, I wasn't in the in crowd." But I mean,
not at all.
Anybody who worked in record stores were cool.
Yeah, but it was like at least in Grand Junction, Colorado, it was
Grand Junction's not really nowhere.
Not now, but back then, in the like 90s, you'd be like, "I'm from Grand Junction." They're like, "Cool, is that close to Fort Collins?" Like, no, man, it's nowhere close. Or Colorado Springs. It's literally
those are the only places I've been: Fort Collins and Denver. So
yeah, it's all the way out on the western side of the state by itself. So but working in the record store gave me this, again, like I had this
more
exposure
access
to the music from my parents, but then I had more access to the music that was really happening in the moment. The 90s. And but it also, like, as I was putting away CDs and stuff as part of my job, because at this time the internet was barely happening, CDs were kind of the main form of music, but we were still selling cassettes and vinyl. But one of my jobs was to, every time an order came in, was to go through and file everything into the bins. And you're flipping through and you're looking at the names of all these bands. You're like, that looks interesting. That looks interesting.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of really how I dove even further into the music of that time period. So
it was after that that you like made the pilgrimage to the West Coast.
So yeah, so this is what happens, right? So it's
Yeah, I
like
know,
one
right?
thing after the next. I decided in high school, like music was my life. This is what I was going to pursue. After high school, I had an opportunity to go to college to play music. I decided to kind of put it off, whatever there's other terms for it, like what do they call it? The
Gap
something
year.
year. Yeah, gap year,
Gap
right?
year,
So
yeah.
I was like, well, I'm gonna take a gap year, even though I had no idea what I was talking about then. But like I saved up a bunch of money, and my buddy and I had started another band. This is like my high school best friend, the kid that I grew up with. We were playing together at that time. We had started a pop punk band at that time, which was really fun. But again, it was like there's nothing happening here in Grand Junction, so we need to get out of here and do something
Yeah.
different. And we did. We saved up our money. We put everything into a U-Haul, and we actually moved to San Diego first. So we
Hey.
we moved to San Diego for about 9 months and started a band there that was kind of, I guess you could say, like alternative pop punk influenced for that time period. But
Perfect in San Diego at that time.
yeah,
I mean,
that
that's
was
what was
like
happening.
there was a huge group of bands from that era that were coming up during that time period. Bands like Newfound Glory and
Of
some
course,
others.
Blink.
Yeah, Blink,
Yeah.
obviously, like
Hmm.
that's a no-brainer. But it was all kind of coming up at the same time. So we thought, well, that's kind of the epicenter of all of this. So let's move there. Well, a young kid from Western Colorado, I didn't last long. So
Oh.
I was about a year and I moved back to Colorado and I was like, I don't know what I was thinking. I had gotten a job as a busser at an Outback Steakhouse and like I was barely making ends meet.
No.
And so I went back to Colorado, kind of like regrouped. But interestingly enough, my friend that I had moved out there with, he had stayed. And the band that we had started basically kind of like reformatted the band
Yeah.
and kind of like changed their songwriting style and decided to like regroup. And I'm back in Colorado for less than, I don't know, maybe 6 to 8 months. I get a phone call and they're like, hey, Nathan, we've kind of changed the way we're doing the band, but we need a bass player that can sing. Would you be willing to move back out here and join this band again? And I was like, actually, yeah. I don't know what I was thinking. I'm coming back. And
So you're
so,
playing guitar and you
but
also
this
play
time,
bass then? Because I thought
so
you
at the
were
time when
guitar.
I was right. So
Okay.
this is also like part of the evolution of my music career, right? And so, I had been playing guitar and singing in basically every band that I had been in up to that point.
Mhm.
And so I get this phone call. They say, you're going to have to switch to bass. Are you cool with that? I was like, yeah, I'm definitely cool with that. They were working with a they were working with a producer in LA. So that was kind of
Oh
like the bait for
crap.
me at that point. And so
So
I was
you
like, all right,
those
I'm
are like
coming out.
magic words.
And I was like, yeah,
You're
when
like,
do I need
holy
to be there?
shit. Oh my God.
So I packed all my stuff up. I moved out to Newport Beach because that's where our drummer was living at the time. I moved to Newport Beach and I lived on his floor. And this would have been
Oh
in
God.
2003, 2004, around that time period.
Yeah.
And that's like when I moved back that time, that's kind of like how everything really advanced. And so ended up in that band for a while. It was a band called Four Alarm Fire. We wrote a record, we released the record. Um, and we were working with a producer at that time that had worked with a lot of other big artists all over he was actually a former touring guitarist for artists like Nelly Furtado and things like
Hmm.
that. So started working with him. We released that record. We get some cool shows. We ended up on like a Warped Tour stage in Long Beach, and
Nice.
we're kind of doing our thing. But then that band fell apart.
Oh.
Internal stuff, and just kind of. But it was because of that band that I was offered an opportunity to audition for another band that was actually like really starting to make waves in Orange County. As a band called National Product,
Okay.
and they had lost their bass player. Their bass player left to go play for another artist, and so it was
That
through the producer that I was offered the audition. Got the audition. They kept me, and from there things like really kind of took off for me. So
wow, that's amazing. That's
yeah.
amazing. So this is the mid 2000s. So
This
I
is actually, yeah, early, like so
Mhm.
2004, 2005 is around this time period.
Mhm, mhm.
But this is coincidentally when I started bartending.
Yeah, I was
So
gonna say
I
this
moved, you know,
those
right.
jobs only pay when you're touring, kind of.
That's it. Like I needed a gig. Like obviously you got to support yourself, right?
Yeah.
And um, I guess kind of you can't. Some people can find a way to live off $5 a day per diems and stuff, but that's not necessarily like the lifestyle, right? So
Yeah.
I actually want to talk about because we briefly talked about ska. There's a couple different things I want to bring up. One, my very first job while I was still in the other band in Four Alarm Fire was at a coffee shop in Fashion Island in Newport Beach. And when I got the job, the guy that was managing, he's like, "Hey, by the way, there's another musician that works here as well. He's a drummer." And I was like, "That's cool. Like maybe we'll be able to talk, right?"
Yeah.
He goes, "Yeah, he's actually in a pretty big band and he's only here once in a while." And I was like, "Pretty big band?" He's like, "Yeah, have you ever heard of the band Real Big Fish?" And I was like, "Are you kidding me? Of course I've heard of
Real
Big
Fish. And why did he need a job at this coffee spot?
I don't know. He just did it when he wasn't on
when he was in town.
When he was back.
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
So I ended up working with the original drummer from Real Big Fish for a little while. Yeah, which was really funny. He was really great. We had some good times chatting about music and stuff like that. He was a really awesome person. And then I ended up there was a Red Robin in that same Fashion Island, and they were hiring, and I ended up working there. And what I thought was just going to be a summer job turned into kind of a longer term gig. And that was my first bartending job. I bartended at Red Robin.
Red Robin. So that's when you learn how to make lots of margaritas real fast.
Margaritas, milkshakes, you name, like strawberry lemonades, like all that fun stuff. I think, looking back, I kind of just laugh at it. It's like, man, some of that stuff was just not good, but you have to start somewhere, you have to kind of learn the basics.
Yeah, I was going to say that's where you learn how you like your well set up and, just
that's exactly,
super basic stuff.
That's
yeah.
It. Yeah. And it was high volume and it was speed pouring and it was just, it was not the quality that I'm obviously trying to achieve these days, but it was eye-opening in a lot of ways. And, I definitely cut my teeth. Newport Beach, high expectations, even at a Red Robin.
Yeah.
So it's
yeah, for sure.
You mess up a martini and a Red Robin, and
someone's gonna get upset. So finally, you had the magic combo that we keep seeing of the person who is working behind the bar to support their music habit. And so, how long did that continue? Like, how many more bands did you do before you were like, I think maybe this band thing is not gonna pan out the way I hoped?
So quite honestly, it was the next band. And so the band that I ended up in, that I auditioned for was a band called National Product again. And we, shortly after I joined that band, we signed an independent record deal.
Oh.
And they had already been building their following. At that time, MySpace was the space to be in. Yeah,
I miss MySpace.
That band was huge on MySpace at that time because they had put out a cover of Smashing Pumpkins' "Disarm" that ended up on a compilation, and it blew up, and it put them at the top of the music charts on MySpace for a very long time. Because of that, it attracted all this attention from record labels. Yeah, this is that band. Yeah, National Product.
Because that name sounds familiar to me, and this must be why. Yeah.
Yeah. So we were big on
MySpace,
and I ended up in the band, played bass. I joined the band, I think it was like September of 2005. By I think it was October or November of 2005, we were putting ink to paper for a record label.
Amazing.
Like we were signed.
You're like
a couple months later. It was like that for me because it was like all these years of hard work and all this kind of, getting to know people, moving back and forth, all of this stuff and playing out. And I ended up in this band that I was like, we're signing a record deal. This is incredible. This is everything that I've ever dreamed of. And then I learned a lot of really hard lessons about what being in a band is like. And, but it was, it was incredible. I was very thankful to be doing what I was doing, but I was still bartending on the side. And I maintained that job bartending until we went to record the record. So for about the next year after we signed, we were given a lockout space near Angel Stadium in Orange County. And they basically, the record label was like, go write as many songs as you possibly can to get ready for this record process. And so I think over the span of a few months, we wrote something like 50 some songs.
Oh my God.
Yeah, it was just nonstop. Like it was a 24-hour lockout space and we could go there whenever we wanted. And so we would just go and write songs. Like we all had random odd jobs. I bartended. Some of the other guys in the band worked at, random other places. One of them, our guitarist, worked for FedEx, and like our drummer worked at a random linen store, and like It's just we were making ends meet until we got done with the writing process. And then we drove to Florida when it was time to record the record. We picked a producer. The producer happened to be living in Florida, so we drove to Florida. We toured all the way out there one summer, and that was like kind of when bartending stopped for me for a little while. It took a break because the band became the number one thing.
Yeah.
And so we moved to Florida, recorded the record. It was a span of several months living out there, and then moved back. Started bartending again when we came back to Southern California for a little while. But again, it was just like you could jump in,
you could always somewhere
to make some money. Huntington Beach was kind of where we were living at that time, and Main Street in Huntington Beach has a ton of spots, so it was just easy to pick up shifts and make a little extra money. So that was my life at that time period. It was just nonstop. But then there was a point in time where, like, once we released the record, we went on tour for like what felt like
a year,
longer. Like it was just like
it seems like it's always like a year at least.
But we released the album and we had to go grind it out. And it was like the build up to the album release, which was we finally released that album in August of 2007, I think is when that album came out. It was an album called Luna, and we released it and, did our thing. Shot a video for it at Vasquez Rocks outside of LA.
Nice.
Which was really fun.
So I love that.
So that was kind of cool. And I mean, like Flintstones, Star Trek, like so many different movies have been shot out there. It was like we shot the video in the dead of summer. It was like 110 degrees out there in the middle of the daytime. Brutal. But so we did that, and then we toured on that record for a while. And then so what happened as far as music for me is that band kept doing its thing. It built up momentum. We experienced some success, got to tour all over the place, and then eventually, I think it was like 2008 when everything happened with like the recession and all of that. Our label decided just out of nowhere that they were just going to close up. They're like, actually, this isn't for us.
Oh, wow.
So they shut down, and it left us in a position where we're like, what are we going to do? And the band went on, after like a little more touring and a few other shows, we went on indefinite hiatus. And we never really came back from that. Like we played some one-off shows here and there. I'm still friends with all of those guys. We have a group chat. We still talk all the time. Like everyone started families and all of those things. But that was kind of the end of me playing, I want to say, like on a high level professionally. I did end up moving back to Colorado briefly at one point and ended up in a ska band for a little while. I was working in a sushi restaurant in Western Colorado called Noko Sushi. And the guys that I was in that restaurant with, we all loved music, all different kinds of music. And one night, the guy who ended up being the singer was like, hey, we've been joking around about starting a ska band for a really long time. Would you be interested in being in a ska band? And I was like, yes, absolutely. I want to be in a ska band. This is going to be awesome. So that was just for fun. And like we started this band called Bad Karma Kings. And
I just love the idea of walking past a closed sushi restaurant at night, just, going back to your car or whatever, and just hearing a ska band coming from somewhere.
Yep.
And just being like, where is that even coming from? And not knowing it's in the back of the sushi restaurant.
Yeah. It's in the depths of the sushi restaurant in Colorado. Yeah. And they had a room that was just dedicated to the band space, and that was it in the back of the restaurant. And so we would get off work, shotgun some beers, and go start playing ska music. It was
so great.
An incredible experience. But the funny thing was it was just fun. It was just like we had absolutely no direction with where that band was going to go. And I think that's what made it so fun for all of us, is because it wasn't about, hey, we're going to go try to get signed, or we're going to go try to make this like an actual serious thing. It was just like the freedom of being like, no, we're going to go play some parties and just have a good time doing it.
That's so great. That's so great. So throughout this, like the later half of this, you're still bartending and working in hospitality and stuff. When did when did your bartending start turning crafty, as it were? When were you no longer red
Right.
rabbiting it?
All right. So like kind of in there was some of that, right? But
Yeah.
like again, this is
But you
like
were coming and going still, so.
right. And that was the ska band was around 2010, 2011. I moved actually I wanted to stay in the music industry. Like that was still my goal. I wasn't going to give up on the idea of finding a way to be a part of the music industry professionally. So I packed up all my things from Colorado and moved to Phoenix to attend a school called the Conservatory of Recording Arts and Sciences in
Mm.
Phoenix. And I spent a year there learning audio engineering
Wow.
and was bartending there as well. In more of kind of a restaurant setting. It was a tequila
Hmm.
bar
Hmm.
restaurant, and I was there supporting myself doing that while I was going to school for audio engineering. When I finished with that, um, I had to get internship hours, and so I was like, well, I'm going to just move back to Southern California. I have a lot of friends there,
Yeah.
and I ended up getting an internship gig at uh, Westlake Studios in Hollywood,
Oh, nice.
and it was an incredible. It was like kind of a dream gig to end up there,
Yeah.
and so I was able to. I had another friend that owned a studio as well. He still owns a studio that I got some of my internship hours at, and then I ended up at Westlake in Hollywood, and so again, still working in the hospitality industry at that
Hmm.
time, ended up at Westlake. But what ended up happening is that I got really burned out. Like the needs that they had at the studio, plus me still trying to work in the hospitality industry, it just wasn't working. I was burning the candle at both ends. I would
Hmm.
work at the restaurant I was at during the day, and then
Hmm.
I would go to the studio at night. I wasn't sleeping. Like I didn't, it was just like this nonstop grind. And at one
Yeah.
point, I had to essentially make a decision like, what's supporting me right now? And it was bartending. And
Hmm.
bartending was paying my bills, it was supporting me, and I was starting to learn more of the craft side of things during that time period. And I was like, as much as I loved being in the studios and around that scene, I was like, I can still find ways to make music a part of my life, but I think I need to lean into this a little more. And
Yeah.
that's what I did. I was still in the LA area. I was working for a Four Seasons hotel in
Hmm.
Westlake Village, and that's when I really dove into the craft side of bartending and
Hmm.
started learning more than I ever had before at that point. So,
And how were you teaching yourself? Did you have colleagues that
yep.
you were doing it yourself?
So
Because
a
this is
lot of it was
late
like
2000s you're talking about?
this at this point now we're talking like I'd been in LA for 2012, 2013. So this is like
Okay.
2013, 2014.
So LA was
Uh,
having some places. There were spots around
yeah,
here that were crafty. It took a
yeah,
minute. It took a
yeah,
minute, but LA Varnish was around already at that point, and like
exactly.
Broken Spanish and things like that.
And I remember sitting at
Roger Room, I think. Yeah.
there was a spot I was living in Woodland Hills at the time. So I was
Hmm.
living up in the valley. I was working at the Four Seasons, but I remember I had gone to a place called the Local Peasant
Hmm.
in Woodland Hills,
Hmm.
and I was watching some of what the bartenders were doing there, and they were doing things that I definitely wasn't doing at the Four Seasons, and I was like,
Hmm.
this is interesting. I'm curious about this. Like, what are they doing? Like, why are they using large format ice?
Hmm.
Why are they expressing peels the way they are? And like I had been exposed to some of that in other bars that I'd been to, but I'd
Yeah.
never really thought about it quite as much, right? And
Hmm.
so um, I started doing a lot more research. I started buying books. The Death and Co. book was one of the
Hmm.
first ones that I bought,
Yeah.
and then other, bartending manuals that were out there. And Dale DeGraff had things out there
Yeah.
as well at that
Yeah.
time. And so I started reading. That was really it. I started reading things and jumping on the internet and seeing what was going on with other cocktail bars across the country. And I just kind of dove into it. I was like, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to learn as much as I possibly can and really lean into this. And
That's
so,
awesome. Well,
yeah.
what got you up to Portland then?
So I ended up meeting someone and moved up to the Pacific Northwest
Mhm.
and then ended up here. Um, it was just through, I got married, ended up moving here, ended up divorced. But that's what got me to the Portland area. And
Hmm.
I moved to Portland in 2016. And in 2016, when I moved here, had still been working for Four Seasons Hotel briefly in Seattle, helped open a restaurant in Seattle, and then moved to Portland. But there wasn't a Four Seasons here, so needed an opportunity to kind of find something a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
And I ended up meeting some owners that were opening a new bar. Um, it was a speakeasy style bar because that was kind of what was cool at the time.
Yeah.
And it was in a 1922 craftsman house. It was a
Ooh,
spot called
cool.
Bible Club.
Okay.
And yeah, so the owner of this place was actually from LA.
Of
He
course.
and his partner and some other friends had moved up from LA and wanted to open up this space. They bought this 1922 craftsman
Mhm.
house and they turned this house into a speakeasy that was pre-prohibition style. And
Mm.
so the whole concept was that everything inside the space, when you walked in, it was like you stepped back in time, and all of the tools, like all the decor, it was all period correct. Like it was basically almost like a museum when you walked
Wow.
in. And so I was tasked with managing that bar. I moved here, I got that job and opened that place, and I was there for about a year and a half. But that's was my introduction to Portland and bartending in Portland, and got to know everybody in the scene at that time. And we made some waves. We did some really cool stuff at Bible Club, and that's just kind of how I made my name here and cut my teeth in the
Hmm.
Portland area.
Hmm.
Um, I was there for a while and decided I kind of wanted to switch gears. Ended up at kind of a local spot that had been there for a long time called Radio Room. I
Mm.
really liked the concept of it because it was like musically
Yeah.
related to like all of that, the local music scene. But it was more of and it's still there, but it's like a neighborhood style kind of more volume bar.
Yeah.
There's some
Yeah.
craft elements that exist there, but
Yeah.
it was kind of more high speed and just a lot more casual, like a lot more relaxed. And so I ended up there for a while, and then I took over the bar program at the Kimpton Hotel Vintage
Mm.
in 2018, and I ran that bar for a little while, and then the pandemic happened.
I was gonna say, did that get you
So
through the
that
pandemic
kind
or
of
no?
yeah,
Yeah. Because
it
people were
got me
still
right
staying
up
at
to it, and then they
hotels, but
yeah, they
it was
shut the
kind
whole
of a
place
safe
down. They laid
place.
everybody off.
Wow. Wow. I'm
Yeah,
kind of surprised they did that because it was,
yeah,
hotels were kind of a safe space. You could have your own room and have food service delivered and you feel like you're not interacting. But
right.
yeah, hit or miss. So then you
Yeah,
were
they
like,
pulled us in.
okay.
Yeah. But I mean, again, so like that entire time, I'm like still working on craft, still learning the scene,
Mhm.
still learning about all of these things that are going on in the industry. I was running social media for a lot of those places
Yeah.
and just really like figuring out what was going on in the industry and making friends and just staying connected. And then, yeah, we got pulled into a big meeting at that Kimpton during that, that was that week in March. And they're like, we're laying everybody off. We don't know when you're going to be able to bring anybody back.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
yeah, that was like about a year long hiatus.
And then did Scotch Lodge come along like around that time?
So what ended up happening was when I had worked at Bible Club, I had met our owner, Tommy. So Tommy Cluse is our owner of Scotch Lodge.
Hmm.
Tommy's been in the Portland bar scene I mean, he grew up in the Portland area
Hmm.
and has been in the Portland bar scene for a very long time. He's kind of like one of the old school guys that had been a part of all of it, had worked at all the spots like Teardrop and, all these amazing places.
Hmm.
He had ended up opening his own restaurant called Lemuel and then had worked for places like the Multnomah Whiskey Library, just all these very well-known Portland spots, but
Hmm.
had decided to open his own place called Scotch Lodge, and that opened right before the pandemic. He opened
Mm.
it in 2019,
Hmm.
and then the pandemic happened, and they utilized a bunch of different ways to go cocktails, outside food to keep the place open during the pandemic. But I got a phone call from him in June of 2021, and we had been friends. We had met like spent time together, done all these things. When I like starting from when I had worked at Bible Club, and he's like, I need some people. We're opening back up. We're kind of getting things going. Would you be interested in doing this? And I said, absolutely. I would love to be a part of that. Came in, interviewed with the general manager at the time. met some of the team and ended up on the team, and I've been there ever since.
Amazing.
So,
Amazing. Yeah. So I have to ask if you have had the opportunity to like create menus, and if you have, did you get to incorporate your music stuff into it? I always love to know this.
Absolutely. So this is actually really fun.
You saved this one for me.
Yeah, I mean, it's just kind of, so our menu is a collaborative menu at Scotch Lodge.
This is at Scotch Lodge. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So Katsumi Manabe, who is our bar manager, him and I have been working side by side. He was there when I got there. He's been there for 6 years now. I've been there for almost 5. And then there's another bartender, Jeremy, and then some other folks that we just have this core team that have been there for a really long time. And it's really amazing to work with all of them. And we all have different music influential backgrounds, but music is very much a part of all of our lives in some way, shape, or form. And so he allows us to all contribute to the menu versus like holding control of the menu himself as a bar manager. Mm-hmm. And so we all contribute, we all bring cocktails to the table, but I name all of my cocktails after either 90s alternative rock songs or early 2000s emo pop punk songs. And so and it's just fun for me. And I try not to get too obscure with it because I do want people to kind of pick up on them, but I definitely pick some random ones that you would have to be like, oh, I know that, I had a cocktail.
Gotta have examples.
Yeah, I had a cocktail not too long ago. Well, the first one, I'm a big Saves the Day fan. So I created this cocktail that used lemon curd in it, and it was modeled after lemon cooler cookies from the 90s.
Yum.
It was basically it was the cocktail version of that, but I was like, I need to find kind of a fun name for this. So I used the album title Through Being Cool from Saves the Day's album, which is one of my favorite records. And so I snuck that one on there, and every once in a while, somebody would be like, wait a minute, is this from Saves the Day? And I'd be like, you're cool. I like you. You get it.
It's like, get a little free, you get a snackery.
Yeah, exactly. Like you get a bonus one for this one. So, but yeah, so I've used that. I've used, there was one, I like Taking Back Sunday a lot. So I used, So Last Summer was the name of a cocktail. Mm-hmm. I have a blind melon cocktail on there. I don't know. There's just right now I have a cocktail called Stare at the Sun, which is a song from Thrice, who coincidentally is an Orange County band that was coming up at the time I was coming up, in the band that I was in Orange County. So yeah, I sneak them in there. And I only name my cocktails after song
stuff
titles
like that. So that's your whole thing. I always ask people, go, oh, I've got one, I've got two. You're like, I've got hundreds.
That's at this point. Like in other bars that I've worked at, I've used other names, but specifically at Scotch Lodge, they're only song titles.
So I like that you're doing this because it's a little irreverent and fun. And here's Scotch Lodge is like a James Beard nominee, like 2 years running.
Yep. And
it's very Portland though, I think, that vibe and everything.
We take what we do seriously, obviously. Like we take hospitality very seriously. We're constantly working on how we're refining what we're doing as a team in general. We want to continue to push ourselves and grow in our craft, grow in the way we present ourselves, like the guest experience. These are all things that we're constantly considering, and we just really care a lot about what we do. But there's the lighthearted side of things too that make it fun and make it memorable for the guests. And I think when you're able to incorporate things like that, you have these talking points that you can bounce off of. And I don't know, it creates these moments with the guests that I think are as much a part of the experience as anything else. So
absolutely.
It's fun. Yeah.
I love that. That's so great. Well, this is probably a good place to wrap it all up and bring it all together. This has been so much fun. I love indulging in this era of music because everyone loved it so passionately, but then they turned around and kind of loved to hate on it and everything. and I've never been one to shy away from a guilty pleasure. I think if you love something, just fucking love it out loud. Have fun with it.
That's exactly it.
Everything. And so I love that it's embraced again wholeheartedly now. People have gotten over the, ska is silly, or, the pop punk thing was so like juvenile. I'm like, no, it wasn't. It was fun. It made you, did it make you happy?
It was fun.
Did it hurt anybody?
That's exactly it. And like we're just having fun with it, and we're getting ready we got invited to Arizona Cocktail Weekend at the end of February, beginning of March. And we're doing a pop-up
Nice.
at a bar called Highball
I know.
on Thursday of that
I know those
weekend. They're
guys.
also a nominated bar with Lady Jane, and we had a meeting last week, and we're
I
like, all
love
right,
them too.
what are we
They're
doing
so
with
great.
the theme of this?
Uh-huh.
And so coincidentally enough, it's going to be like an emo tropical theme like that we're going to do for that night. So
I might have to find a way to get
be
down
music
there
based
for that.
again. Yeah.
That, I mean, I'm
yeah,
a 6-hour drive.
So
I'll try to get over there. Yeah, I know Libby
that's what I'm saying.
over at Highball and Dan over at Lady Jane. They're great and love
Amazing.
all that stuff. So, that'll be so much fun. So, well, that's a good point. Are there socials that people should follow? Scotch Lodge, yourself, whatever.
Yep.
Then if someone wants to like pop up at a pop-up, they'll have that information.
Yeah.
So what are the socials?
Our Instagram is our number one main social media outlet. So jump on. I run our social media there as well. But yeah, it's just Scotch Lodge on social media. And then my social media is actually Thunderdog Photography. I do photography on the side. I do our cocktail photography for Scotch Lodge as well. So it's just kind of my side thing that I love to do for fun. But yeah, check out what we're doing on there. We're constantly promoting what we were doing or what we are doing.
Yeah.
We were at Accomplice at the end of last year down in Mar Vista.
Nice.
We were down there for a pop-up.
Oh,
which was
bummer.
a lot of
I'm
fun.
sad I missed it.
Yeah, but I mean, we would love
time.
to come back down there and do that again. Yeah, exactly. We'll keep you posted. But yeah, we're constantly promoting what we're doing on there. Our website, scotchlodge.com, as well, is another place to check things out. And we're trying to work on some other fun things, some YouTube-based stuff and other fun ideas. So hopefully we'll have those going pretty soon.
Stay tuned on the Instagram and we'll know more. Well, thank you so much for talking to me, Nathan. It was super, super fun.
Of course.
I really loved it. And anybody next time you're important, gotta go see you.
Yeah, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Let me take this awkward saw, run it against your thighs, cut some flesh away, carry this piece of you with me. So I can say to right is I hate you, it would be alright. We could see each other sometime.
Another big thank you to Nathan for chatting with me and representing Scotch Lodge, as well as his band, former band, and I'm glad that they're all still on good terms. That band, again, is called National Product, and we're going to get to that in a second, but first, Scotch Lodge. If you want to follow them on the Instagram, it's just at Scotch Lodge. Boom. Easy enough, right? And now, we heard a little snippet of it earlier, but I thought it would be cool if we listened to the whole song from National Product. This is By All Means.
With silence you never
thank you for tuning in to our barroom chats on Music and Booze with Mo. For more info about today's guest, or if you want to connect with me, check out my Facebook page, Mo Herms. Please subscribe to the podcast and feel free to tell all your friends about it. While you're there, give the show a rating and a review. It really helps to get the word out. If you want to hear the playlists our guests have curated, search She Be Mo on Spotify, SHEBMO. Find pictures of the interviewees and the cool stuff they create on the Music and Booze with Mo Instagram account. Lower your expectations and join us at the bar. Till next time, cheers.